All right.
School started.
School started. It's not Labor Day.
Vacation.
Vacations are done. Except for next week, we're going to have a camp. We'll have a Bible study there. I heard that it's an optional thing, is what I heard. Sunday school at camp. Some pastors don't do that.
Oh.
Yeah. So that's what I was told.
I thought you mean it's optional for us.
Everything is optional for you, as far as I know. I don't think that the rules changed. All right, let's say a prayer. We give you thanks so much to God for bringing us to this time of being in your word. Let us put aside the cares of this world and be surrounded by what you have to say to us in your house, in your word. In Christ's name we pray. Amen. All right, what book are we on? All right, let's see how far we can go with that. What chapter are we in? 1. What verse are we in?
15 or 16?
Yeah, we kind of, I think we're going to get into 15 and 16. Yeah, that's where we're going to start. Yeah. So what's happening there? That things are going good for the Israelites and they're multiplying. And then we have this Pharaoh that doesn't like it. And he begins by, well, first of all, they begin by making the Israelites, the Egyptians, the Pharaoh is trying to make it, trying to stop them from procreating there, right? Multiplying for whatever paranoia reason that he has. And they put him to slave labor there. You repeat a couple of times, but that doesn't work out. So Pharaoh decides that he's going to get the help of midwives in 15, and this is where we stopped last time. We began this 15 and 16. Let's do the NIV so you won't, it is kind of spake and all that stuff. Thank you. Well, the ESV, how about that? That's even better. All right. All right, so 15 and 16 where we are. We just cracked it open last week. Then the king of Egypt said to the Hebrew midwives, one of whom was named Shiphrah and the other Puah, when you serve as midwife to the Hebrew women and see them on the birth stool, if it is a son, you shall kill him. But if it is a daughter, she shall live. All right. So we talked about the names and how we don't know Pharaoh's name, but we know those two names. And then this is where it says for me to start, okay? A slideshow from... All right, so...
Do we know the meaning of their names? So often in the Bible they'll give you a name and
Yeah.
it means so-and-so.
No, I didn't see anything interesting about that. We do know that the Hebrew language there, for you to, since you're trying to dig deeper, I didn't want to mention it, but the way that says Hebrew midwives doesn't necessarily mean that they were Jewish. What it means is that they worked with Hebrew women. So they might have been Egyptians. So we don't know if they themselves were Egyptian women or Jewish women. All right. I don't know if it helps or not. Because like even 16, the way it's phrased, when you serve as a midwife to the Hebrew women. So that means they were not exclusively serving as midwives to the Jews. So that doesn't mean that they themselves were Jews. Okay. So we...
Said to the Hebrew midwives, would
Yeah.
make them Jewish?
No, not necessarily. Because, again, 16, how does the NIV say 16?
This is when you help the Hebrew women.
Yeah, when you help the Hebrew women. So that means that Hebrew women are not the only ones they helped. So probably you can argue, and from the experts, and I'm not an expert in Hebrew, but the commentary that I've read says that it can mean, it doesn't necessarily mean that they were themselves Jews. And it is, and I would say that maybe not, because how many Jewish women would be allowed to be midwives to the Egyptian women, right? They're not like there. All right, so what has changed about Pharaoh's attitude? I think we kind of began to talk about that. The attitude is probably the same. He just doesn't like the Jews, right? It's still there. But what changed is now, and I think I talked about that, the pyramid of truth, that we always, what catches our attention is the action. Somebody is speeding down the road, somebody is bullying somebody else in school, somebody is abusive, somebody is that's the action. What is based on the attitude? All right, so what's the attitude that he has? Is that he hates them. So one way or another. But what you see, what happens when a sinful attitude remains unchecked? Does it go away?
No.
It gets worse, okay? So it escalates, right? And you have this, maybe not necessarily I would call it in this case, but you can call it whatever you want. I think of it like elevator principle, where you get, let's say you have an argument, and you begin with just a slightly elevated tone of voice, right? And then the other person goes a little higher and says something meaner, and you say something even more mean, and then you get all the way up all the way to the top when things get horrible. And how do you get to like a physical fight? It doesn't just, unless you have like some maniac, a sociopath, right? Normally, in our normal sinful world, people don't just start swinging at each other, right? It begins with something. But then by the time you get to the last floor on the elevator, you are up there. It escalates. Ephesians chapter 4. I mean, we're not going to dive too deep, but that kind of came to my mind. Let's see if it makes a connection for you. Ephesians 4 and 26. All right, so most of you will recognize it, as you must have heard by now. Seasoned students of the Bible that you are. Be angry and do not sin. Do not let the sun go down on your anger. And give no opportunity to the devil. What does 27 imply?
Anger is the doorway.
Huh?
Anger is the doorway.
It's not your way?
No, it's a doorway.
It's
for the
Doorway.
for the devil.
Yeah. And so what's the devil going to do? What's the opportunity that he's going to take?
Oh, he's going to push you to sin.
Yeah, and do what? Escalate. It's going to get worse. So the devil is not going to be like, oh, yeah, calm down.
Yeah.
You know, which it's not the phrase you're supposed to use, right? If somebody's yelling at you, you're like, calm down! Does that work? No, but you're up there. Yeah, but so the devil, what happened? Think about when you get upset. It's like it just goes up. Your blood pressure goes up. Your heart rate goes up. You start having tunnel vision. You don't hear what people say. You just want to shoot, whatever you want to say. And so the devil, that's what he does. He kind of grabs you as a football and he runs with you. And he takes off. And if you don't stop, if you don't let, if you're going to go ahead and be angry, then fall asleep and not angry if you can. So that's what happens to Pharaoh. Let's go back to, again, this is a separate Bible study on anger. We're not going to go into that. But so that's what happens to Pharaoh. He cannot leave it alone. He cannot let go. So he's going to go, and you can see the progression. And this is set up. You know, we talked about last week about how God is an expert in anthropology. He knows man, and he knows that this is the tool he's going to use. He's going to use Pharaoh's own insecurities and paranoia to accomplish what he wants to accomplish. So he goes from this oppression of the Jews with hard labor and slave labor. Now he wants to, we'll call it genocide, right? Because you have this specific group of people that you are addressing and you want to eliminate that. But it's not full-blown thing. By the time we get to the end of the chapter, it's going to be wide open. Because at this point, is this a public decree? No, it's very private. You got those two midwives, and it's just an arrangement between them. But it doesn't appear that that they're killing them. Well, let's do 17 then. But the midwives feared God and did not do as the king of Egypt commanded them, but that let the male children live. So.
That makes me think they are Hebrew midwives.
Well, yeah, it could be.
I know, but if they were Hebrew midwives, you'd think they'd have told the Hebrews.
Yeah, yeah, we don't know.
If they were
Yeah.
Egyptian, they might.
Again, the language itself doesn't imply that you can both go both ways. If you want to believe that way, you know, this is not like something to fight over. I mean, you go with it, and a lot of people believe that, so I'm okay with it. I'm flexible. Some things are not, right? But we can be about this one. If you argue about baptism or something like that, but yeah, midwives, sure. So you have this son. He put him to death. Daughter, she lives. So why didn't they obey? You fear God, okay? They feared God. So you have this conflict now being set up. Pharaoh, he is the most powerful man in the world at that time. And you have two women. So there's a lot of interesting stuff. But two women that, what? Fear God. So who's going to win?
God is.
Yeah, well, God is going to win, right? But through whom? Through two women. And that's where you see that they're named and he's not named. Because who's more important? Pharaoh or the two women? And so in chapter 2, you will see that it's not just the two women. There's going to be more women. So if you want to get into that, very interesting gender conflict. You have most powerful man, and there's all these women that undermine him, but they fear God. And so they have the reverence for God. They believe in him. So you can argue from that point, maybe they were Israelite. But again, you know, that's whatever you want to do. But what are they doing? It's what we would call civil, disobedience, right? The king commands them to do one thing, but let the boys live. So they obey God rather than man.
I wonder if they were Egyptian,
Yeah.
didn't they worship God of fertility and all these things? And even as a woman
Yeah.
that maybe has had a child, even though somebody's told her to kill the babies.
Yeah.
I mean, I think it would be hard for a woman.
Yeah. It's interesting. It's strange. Yeah.
Yeah. And
It's like, does he know women, Pharaoh? I'm not being ironic or anything like that.
but I think,
Yeah.
the reverence for life, maybe you
Yes.
experienced it. You just couldn't do that.
Yeah. Yeah, it's yeah, I don't know. Yeah, it's a good point. I mean, the whole story, and as we get into the story as it goes on, where they just really go at it, and we kind of read through it, oh yeah, they killed all the male. It's horrible. I mean, this is just bad stuff. And yes, you expect women to do that. I don't know. So 18 and 19. So the king of Egypt called the midwives, and said to them, "Why have you done this? And let the male children live." Pretty powerful, scary stuff, right? You don't disobey Pharaoh, right? And he knows about it.
He must have had his spies out checking
Yeah, well,
for babies.
but they didn't fear him because he can easily now kill them, right?
I'm surprised he did.
Yeah. Why? The midwives said to Pharaoh, "Because the Hebrew women are not like the Egyptian women, for they are vigorous and give birth before the midwife comes to them." All right, so, all right. So, are they telling the truth? So they're kind of cunning, right? They're not, that's the reason. This is why it happened. They're not like Egyptian women. And so they're not saying we disobeyed you, right? He's giving them a chance to explain themselves. And they're saying, well, we tried, right? We tried, Pharaoh. We would just rush off right there, and before we get there, it just happens. So I don't know. Again, does Pharaoh understand women? And I mean, that probably does. I don't know. Yeah. And you have this birth stool. I don't know. See them on the birth stool. So before they get there, it's done. I don't know the technicalities of it. So the script, I don't know how to, birth stool and all that stuff. Now, did Pharaoh believe them?
I think he did. I think it fueled the fire.
I think he did because otherwise he probably had him killed.
Yeah. It's like what's happening?
He believed
He is being outwitted by two women, just common people, and he's this powerful man. I don't know.
Well, they're feeding into the fear. They tell them that the Hebrews are vigorous.
Oh yeah. They're like, okay, good point. I didn't even think about that. They're trying to kind of appease him. You are the greatest man. That sounds familiar. You are, you didn't say thank you. They're thanking him for the task that was given, and they're saying, you're right. They're so vigorous, so full of life, and they're swarming the place. Remember that the word that we can't defeat them. We try, Pharaoh, but it just doesn't work. All right.
But God's on this midwife's side also. God pretend to be God out of his.
Yeah. Well, yeah. So 20. Obviously, he believes them. or he doesn't disbelieve them and punish them and say, well, you know what, I'm going to send different midwives now, see if the result will be the same. So God's hand is in it. So God dealt with the 20 and 21. So God dealt well with the midwives, and the people multiplied and grew very strong. And because the midwives feared God, he gave them families. So the little kind of like a note there that God is blessing. Who is he blessing? The midwives. And who else? The people. So far, everything that Pharaoh has done has backfired. And it's not working out. So first of all, God blesses the people. They're still multiplying. And then this 21, the tradition is that midwives would be the women that didn't have children, that were not married, and they had the time to do all this stuff. Okay? So for whatever reason, kind of the implication is that now God blessed them. They found their husbands and they had their own kids. They had no time for. That's the tradition. It's a possibility. Again, is it? That's what happened? No, but again, that's the way it goes. And so either way, that's how it says that he blessed them. He gave them families. So it's a blessing. Family is a blessing. So everything that Pharaoh has tried hasn't worked. So what he is going to do. And by the way, this is not necessarily a teaching of health and wealth type stuff, but you can make an argument that when you obey God, then what? You'll be blessed. Okay, don't discount that if you obey God and you're still a midwife. I don't know. Anyway, we'll just move on from that one. Okay, 22. Then Pharaoh commanded all his people, every son that is born to the Hebrews you shall cast into the Nile, and you shall let every daughter live. Okay, so what's the change? What's the huge change now? It's public. That's number one. Everybody now, not just the two women. Everybody is commanded. It's a public decree, and everybody is enforcing it. Huge change. You cast them into the Nile. No more behind the scenes. No more, let's call in the two midwives and kill all the boys. It becomes a public decree. It's an official policy now. Genocide. And who is supposed to do this? Everybody. Every citizen, every subject of Pharaoh commanded all his people, right? Now, looking ahead into the future, this is a little bit of what's the significance of this verse? How will it come back full circle? Yeah, Passover. What do you mean by that, Michael?
Well, the Passover, if they didn't have the blood above the doorway, the firstborn son.
Yep. So everybody who's going to be implicated in this is going to suffer. It's going to come full circle to every Egyptian, to every boy, right?
You also go into after Christ was born, they decreed that all the male teachers and other people.
Yeah, very good. So we're going to make that connection there with Moses and Christ too. So very good. You're starting to see Christ in everything. That's good. That's all the way in chapter 12, by the way, we get to. So it's going to be a while. hopefully we'll make it there. So just as the Egyptians kill the Israelites, so will it come back to them. So the 10th plague will be the night of the Passover, right? All right, let's see what else we have. Okay, that's a duplicate. So what Darrow mentioned, what happens at Christ's birth and following it? Herod, you know, you have Herod killing the infant boys up to 2 years old, and then you have this looking even further into the story of Moses, which we'll get to probably today. I don't have slides for it, but that's okay. We'll just start reading. What will Moses do with his people? To lead them out of the land of slavery. So what would Jesus do with his people? Slavery, yes, sin and death, yeah. So you have this deliverer, and you have this deliverer who is born, and the king goes after the deliverer. And you see that with Moses especially, because to get to that possible deliverer, even though neither Herod nor Pharaoh knows the significance, they're just doing the same thing. They're just killing everybody, just at this genocide, and you have the same thing, except it's reversed, right? So Jesus goes to Egypt, right? And then he is carried away from the murderers, and he is preserved from the king. Christ is preserved from the king. Pharaoh, Moses, that's the same. So you have this parallel there. And so we lay down this foundation now of the life of Moses. It's the foundation for the life of Jesus. And there's all kinds of parallels that we get into with Moses and Jesus. But there's also a great contrast, right? Because, again, we'll get to the New Testament and you see this Moses versus Jesus, law versus gospel. You have this, because Jesus is the fulfillment of the law. But you got kind of foreshadows what's about to come. But what does this verse literally describe?
What do you mean, verse 22?
Yeah.
Murder.
Yeah, and what kind of murder is it?
It's infanticide.
Yeah, and it's public.
Yeah.
And I don't know how many people would be involved in it.
Everybody. It's a mob.
It's a mob, and then how many? At this time, the Jews they're swarming the place.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, we're not talking about. I mean, I don't know, thousands.
Well,
This is a horrible scene. I think we kind of read the story because we've heard it so many times, and we just don't feel it because it's only one verse. Even with the story with the innocents, right, with the Herod, it's just like, okay, well, every son is born to the Hebrews, you shall cast them. They throw them in the Nile.
So it's as if you were at the hospital and people were just coming into the hospital taking all the baby boys out.
Yeah, I don't know. I think the shock of it is lost on us. We kind of treat it academically almost, but it's horrible.
That might be foreshadowing with the Nile when he turned one of the plagues with the blood. 'Cause, I mean, that would be
Yeah.
Just throwing thousands of children into the
And what, just this picture for a moment as a parent, what would you experience? That your child is born. Normally, you know, the child is given to the mother, and you know there's this cuddly moment, and everybody is taking pictures. Where's the child going now? Just imagine. Just think for a moment. Or maybe they made them, after the child is born, you know, you get to hold the baby and say goodbyes, and they just cast it.
Would you think it would change your attitude on even wanting to become pregnant at that
I don't know
point?
what I mean, this is, I just want you to just kind of dwell on it, just the horror. Huh? Pray to have a girl? I'd be a sigh of relief, right? I don't know. And again, it's a public decree, yeah. David?
I think that opens a can of worms. This is horrible, but you use the word genocide, and I think today we've changed that term to abortion. History has repeated itself over and over and over, and we always accept it is what it is. In the 40s, it was the Germans, ethnic cleansing of the
Yeah.
Jews. Now we're going back to the children through abortion and all these other things, and we're actually doing some of the same things again to the young lives.
Yeah, it's the abortion, yeah. You can argue that and you know, if you look at the kind of the genesis of abortion, right? The roots of it was kind of a genocide of certain,
Just think about the young life.
or just the young life.
Today,
Yeah.
they're not even. There is life, but
Yeah.
they're not even. Well,
Yeah, this is
they are outside.
and
the
this is very raw like this, right? This is not done in the setting of a clinical setting.
When you want to try to do something, you take the innocence away,
Yeah.
and the innocence is the child.
Yeah, the innocence is a child, yeah. Russell?
It's along something of a similar line. China, for about 30 years, wanted to restrict the number of children that you could have
Yeah.
to one.
Yeah.
And the Chinese always seem to value a male over a female, so they destroyed all the female babies, and now that
Yeah, I remember it, the
generation
China
has no
policy,
lives.
yeah. I don't know if they still, I think they don't have it anymore, if I'm not mistaken.
All the medical people, the doctor who delivered the baby.
Okay.
That's what he tried to do with the midwife.
Betadine into their
Oh. Yeah. So you can draw parallels there, certainly, that, again, this is probably millions of people involved at this point. I don't know. Those of you who studied the history of Egypt. And it's not just in, I don't know, was there Cairo at this point? It's all over the place, along the whole Nile River.
So it's hard for us to think about it because this is people busting into people's homes and taking
Yeah,
their
it's-
newborn babies straight out of their arms and just, you know, there have to be
Like a military involved,
fathers,
National
have to
Guard.
be fighting,
Yeah.
You know, it's just,
Oh yeah, this is horrible stuff. And again, we talked about a lot of people. They're multiplying. They're still multiplying. And you have this. And it doesn't say how long it's been going on. So it wasn't just like one day, right? I mean, if you look at chapter 2, we don't know.
imagine it's not like today where he puts the decree and everyone looks at it on the internet.
Yeah.
It's probably spread.
Oh yeah, it takes a while till it gets to the peripheral regions and all that stuff. But it's setting up this horrible, and so you get to the end of chapter 2. People are just screaming. I mean, they're crying out to God, right? Because this is, I don't know. I mean, it's hard for us to grasp.
Pastor,
Yeah.
It kind of puts me in mind of what happened during COVID.
COVID.
You want to get
Okay.
people really fired up.
Okay.
Just talk about a vaccine mandate.
What's the connection? Go ahead.
Well, the connection would be that in this time, we can't really imagine it, but imagine if you're a law-abiding citizen.
Okay.
Most of us are.
Yes.
Most of our laws, or at least all that I'm aware of, don't really conflict with our faith in any way. Right?
Yeah.
In the majority of things.
Yeah.
So we don't have to break the law in order to follow God and go to church and do all the things
Right.
we do. This particular thing is telling people to literally disobey God.
yes.
And or
Obey
they go to
man.
jail, or
Yeah.
maybe they're put to death. I don't know.
Yeah, I don't know. That's yeah.
So then you have this weird thing, like Dave kind of pointed out, where during the Holocaust, right? So you had people who were law-abiding citizens, which would point out if there was a Jew living next to them.
Mhm.
So and then we saw the same kind of thing with, not quite to the extreme, but with anti-vaccinations. Like, even there was tense moments with family. I don't know if anybody else had it, but I know I did. You'd start talking about, well, are you vaccinated or you're not vaccinated? Why? And it gets into this, like you're talking about, this elevator stuff.
Okay.
Well, you're gonna make grandma sick if you don't get vaccinated,
Or a babysit.
or a baby sick, right? So, and maybe that's a little bit extreme to kind of connect those, but that's the only thing that I can think that I would relate to
Yeah.
this sort of situation, because, like I said, there's nothing that I feel like I can't do as a Christian that's against the law, right? And in this situation, you're really conflicted then, because, okay, you risk everything to keep this kid alive, or do you just destroy your own psyche and everything you believe in by letting them take your kid?
Yeah, but
If
the
somebody takes
Egyptians
them, or
didn't
do
believe
it
in
yourself,
God.
right?
Yeah, you have this Egyptians that may be a little bit different, because I don't think the Israelites struggled with this.
Right.
But
They
see-
feared God, right?
Yeah,
And so,
yeah.
you know.
I think they got well, but yeah. Well, I see kind of your point, and that does come to my mind, the power of the government. Even though I think we'd like to think that we're kind of like, especially in the United States, that they don't tell us what to do, but they did. And COVID is I'm glad kind of that we experienced, because it's unreal. If you look back, the fact that the power, and you're right about that argument, and that argument, what it is, and it's interesting that even the church, and by the church I mean the centralized community, the synod, the district, we were not on the same page on that one, because that same argument was used. Well, we're doing the right thing. We are saving lives. And I remember Colonel, what's her name? Remember, Joe? Colonel something or other from CDC. She is a very educated woman, and her husband is LCMS pastor. And I don't know how many times I saw her on our Zoom meetings, telling us pastors, do not open churches. Do not dare open churches. Just telling us.
But Walmart's okay. Go to Walmart.
I'm just, and why? And it's not just because I'm the government. She wasn't. She was a retired something or other, CDC. But if you love your people, do not visit them. Boom. If you love your people, and I've been there, I remember to this day times when I was, somebody's dying in the hospice on Robinson Road, and they test positive for COVID. The family would not be let in. And I remember sitting there with the family outside the window. Same thing with ICU. Grandma, it's time for her to go, breathing her last, but you cannot be by her because she has COVID. Oh, I can tell you numerous stories about that, and all it's done in the name of what? Love. Love your neighbor. So it's not as easy. I don't think you can argue that there. But it is the same idea that it is a struggle, and sometimes we almost adjust our way of looking at things. We try to make it make sense because we have to sleep at night, right?
There's a case, I think this documentary is supposed to be shown tonight. I've seen some highlights that a family didn't want one of their children to get a vaccine, and I don't think it was COVID, it was one of the regular vaccines. And the Child Protective Services or whatever got involved. They took all 5 kids, put the parents in jail, astronomical bail to get the parents to even think about getting out of jail. And I mean, just a total disruption. And they weren't able to see their kids for months and months. I don't know the whole story, but I think it's supposed to be on tonight. But again, that's where.
Yeah, there's extreme cases, and I'm glad that people talk about them. But I think that is something to be made. And again, this seems to be cut and dry. But maybe people, 100 years from now, looking at what happened, they say, well, they'll be cut and dry for them. But it's not for us because we lived through this, and I've lived through this as a pastor, and Pastor Johnson, and those of you who were in the leadership, the struggles that we had. And again, the guidance from the district and the synod was different. Looking back, we might say, you know what, we should have done it maybe not this way, but maybe not, I don't know. And you even saw that even with local pastors or local congregations. Some of them shut down for like months. Remember, we picked up like in May, some of them kept being shut down, and it's just not the other people. I'm talking about LCMS as well. Oh, yeah, it is a struggle, and it's.
You just mentioned, you said you didn't think it was cut and dry for the Israelites. Do you think that's
No,
the case?
I don't think it was cut and dry for the well. It is.
Earlier you mentioned that you said you didn't. When I said that maybe they struggled with it, you said maybe the Israelites didn't struggle with it as much as the Egyptians.
Yeah.
Or didn't struggle with it at all. Do you think that's the case? Well, because I'm just thinking ahead to. All the trials and tribulations that Israelites go through, and they don't really listen to God 100%, right?
Yeah.
So I'm wondering how many of them in this situation also didn't listen. Like some of them just said, okay, well, yes, God probably wants me to keep this kid, but I also want to keep my house,
it's kind of more like an anthropology. Think about, what did Chinese do?
Right.
Or those of you that brought up the Holocaust, you look at the good old German Lutherans, right? Mm-hmm. And then you study that part of history, and you ask them, well, why didn't you stop it, right? And they say, oh, I didn't know what was happening. Well, what about that chimney right there, that big old smoke coming out? Oh, I didn't know what was going on. Why? Because I didn't want to see it.
Right.
So a lot of the time we don't want to be aware of those things. And you see that play out again and again, that we'd rather not see it, and because we don't know what to do with it. It's like you go to Walmart in Hickory. You know who lives in those woods, right?
Yeah.
Do you want to see them? Yeah. Or Fairgrove Church. There's an area there by, you know where I'm talking about. GE planned that area. I can name you all its locations. Don't use the 360 right there with your child. What's he doing there? We don't want to, we don't want to see them there. And a lot of it is. So I don't know. Maybe they're just like, well, it's not my family. I got a daughter, or I just want to survive. I just want to live. So that's what I'm talking about, the Israelites, or maybe the Egyptians. Or what can I do? What can I do? I mean, it's the Pharaoh. He's got all the troops, right? That's how you look at, like, you watch like the guys in North Korea, right? And it's like, you're like, well, why are they worshiping that guy? And you can't understand it. But what can they do? Yeah. It's very powerful. That's how dictators live. That's again sinful nature, and so we don't know how many people are involved, how long it's going on, but it is horrible. So I'm glad that we spend that time looking at that one verse, because we kind of tend to like, oh yeah, let's get to Moses drifting in the river, that little baby and the papyrus, you know, passing by, and the catfish is not biting. All right. Let's say a prayer. We give you thanks, Almighty God, for confronting us with our sinful nature that this just doesn't realize how bad we are off, no matter what time, what place. And we need to be rescued from this sin and death, from this life of sin and death and culture, and even inside of each one of us. So we thank you for Jesus and the one who delivers us from this life of sin.